Yeah. Welcome back, everybody. It is a brand new night, a brand new show. We are unedited, unfiltered, and we are going raw. My name is Joey.
And I'm Eric, and we're your hosts, and welcome to Raw Minds. There it is, buddy. Episode 17, man.
We doing it
There
big
it
every
is.
week. Every week we doing it. We doing it.
Yeah, man. Before we get into anything, uh, we'll I think it's time to start throwing our email address out at the beginning and not at the end of the episode so people can hear it. So if you guys want to reach out or you want us to talk about some stuff, feel free to reach out to us on our email at rawmindspodcast@gmail.com. Uh, I mean, even if you just need to vent, we're here. This is what we do. So reach out.
Yeah, like
That's
Eric
it.
said, man, we're all about helping people, uh, talking people off that ledge, literally. If you guys are struggling in life, me and Eric have been through 20 years of chaos, and it's been a real long battle to get to where we're at. And that's why we're sitting here tonight and every other week is to share our stories and how the stories that we went through and the struggles that we've overcome, and to really give back to the people that have gone through or dealing with the things that we've had to deal with in our lives. It's not an easy
Yeah.
path, and it's probably one of the hardest things to deal with is grief and loss and depression and suicide or suicidal tendencies and thoughts.
Yeah.
It,
Not to mention, bro, we have guests come on too, right? That you know, express what they've gone through, and hopefully, other people can relate to those things. That's a big
yeah,
thing too.
100%. We have guests come on, like Eric said, and the stories that people that we've had on share, or the emails that we receive every week. It's heartbreaking, yet it shows that you're not alone. That's why we're doing this,
Definitely.
is to really be there for people the best that we can, because a lot of the stuff that we went through in our lives and certain things, nobody was there for us.
Yeah.
And to feel alone to deal with these things, and to even be alone and have nobody, makes it even harder to get through.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we are here doing what we do, letting you guys know that when you feel you don't have anybody, you do. So reach out, rawmindspodcast@gmail.com, anytime, any day. You don't even have to use your real name if you're not comfortable. If you want, we'll call you. We'll help you find resources in the towns that you live in. Even when
Mm-hmm.
we don't live there, we'll find them. We'll help you.
Yeah.
So that's what we
We got
do.
we got the program to help us find that shit. So that's what we do. Before though, we dive deep into this conversation, brother, that we're gonna have. I just want to give a shout out to these motherfuckers right here, Kansas City Chiefs. We won the Super Bowl yesterday, so hell yeah, today's a good day. So any 49er fans out there, too bad. Anyways, I just wanted to shut that out. Okay, so this is one that me and you know a fair amount about, I guess you could say, eh, buddy?
Yeah, definitely. Tonight is, you know, something that has been such a blessing for us and for most people, but also a serious struggle, especially as men with children, single men, or single fathers, I should say,
Mm-hmm.
on the good guys that want to be good dads, the good guys that just want to be there for the kids, that want to spend time with the kids, that love their kids. that would do anything for their kids.
Yeah, man.
It's as much of as is the best thing to ever happen to me, as I am a single father of two. It has also been one of the hardest
Mm-hmm.
journeys I've been on, and not in the sense of being a dad, in the sense of trying to be a dad. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
100%,
It's
man.
battling to be a father. It's battling to be there as much as that I can. And I
Well,
know a lot of the guys, the good guys, are going through the similar struggles and situations where they don't understand, and they just want to be there for the kids. That's it.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
it's an ongoing battle for a lot of people, man, and the saddest part is the kids get put in the middle of it most of the time when it
yeah,
has nothing to do with them ever.
yeah.
It has nothing to do with the kids. So,
Well, let's face it, man. I mean, I'm a single father. I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing, but I'm doing it. You know, that's no. There's no real. Okay, I mean, yeah, there people write books about this shit, but I mean, there is no real playbook on what your life, what you should be doing. I mean, there's guides that you follow, but I mean, it's fucking hard, man. It really is hard. I mean, the different situations, right? Every situation is different with everybody. Every new situation is a new struggle that we have to overcome or try to push through, you know? And some of the times it's the first thing that you have no idea, man. You know? You have no idea what the hell to do. But as parents, we want the best for our child, and we got to take the best route that we can to, you know, guide them in that direction of growing up to be a healthy, young, beautiful young child that does right in this world. And at the end of the day, that's all that we want for our children. So that's just a struggle in itself, man. And dealing with a mental battle back and forth in your head. Is this right? Am I doing this properly? Is like, should I be doing something else? I mean, do you ever deal with that stuff? Like you second guessing your situation, even know that you did something right, but like, is that right? Is that like, am I doing the right thing? When it comes to, do you ever go through that?
oh, for sure, man. I think we all do as parents. We try to make the best decisions that we can. Like you said, there's no guide, there's no playbook, and you try to make the best decisions that you can
Mm-hmm.
uh, in that moment, and whatever the circumstances, and thinking that this is the best thing for your children, or
Mm-hmm.
this is the best option for that outcome, or and a lot of times we've made decisions, and we make decisions, and our heart's in the right place, but our heads in a different. In let's see if I can give an example. Is uh, okay? How about parents who stay together that are miserable, but they do it for the kids
Which is totally
because
wrong.
which they in their mind, their heart's in the right place, because they feel that if dad or mom leaves, it's really going to affect the children,
Yeah.
right? So that's an example. Is your heart's in the right place, you think you're doing this is the best choice for your children, this is the best reason, or this is the reason why I'm doing this is for them, when in reality, say in that situation, we have touched on this a while ago on a different episode, I believe,
Yeah.
but it is actually more damaging to your children. But your heart's
100%.
in the right place because you think that's the right decision,
Yeah.
right? So
Well,
we
that's
do
the
make
one.
these decisions, right? We do make these decisions thinking that this is the best, but sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
But our heart's in the right place
Well,
by
that's the thing,
sticking.
though.
You know,
It's about your mental, or you gotta. go with your head or your heart. You know what I mean? And sometimes when you lead with your heart, the heart is blind, man. And it fucks that shit up. You actually need to use your head and be like, okay, this situation is actually not okay for the kid, and step back and see that big picture. And a lot of times we follow with our heart, even in relationships, and then you don't see the big picture, what's going on. So, I mean, I think a big
100%.
yeah, man. Like it's a battle. You're battling yourself at the same time too, half the time. It's a battle between your mind and your heart. What is the logical thing, and then what is your heart saying? But I mean, that's something that we all I bet you struggle with at some point in time.
Well, of course, and anyone who loves their children will struggle with that. And again, we make decisions sometimes because you putting your children first,
Yeah.
as you should for the most part. Now, we've also talked about this before, and the truth is you need to put you first
Yeah.
before your children. And I'm not
Mhm.
saying that in a bad way. You know what I mean? It's just like if you're in that relationship and you're sticking around for the children
Mhm.
and you are just miserable and depressed, well, how does that affect your children? Because you're not taking care of you.
Yeah.
They feed off that energy. They feed off your depression. They feed
100%.
off your misery and your anger and your snappiness and your sadness, all of it, right? Your children
Yeah.
feel that.
Yeah.
So if you're not taking care of you first, how can you take care of your children the best that you can? You can't. Just like you
No.
can't take care of your wife and your girlfriend and your relationships. Just like they say,
Exactly.
if you don't love yourself, you can't love anybody else. It's the same with your children. You still love them,
Yeah.
but you're not giving them what they need because you're not giving yourself what you need.
Exactly.
You know what I
It's
mean?
true,
So it
man.
all starts first with you.
Mhm. Well,
So
let me ask you a question then. What would you say is the biggest struggle, um, being a single father? Like in your situation in your life, what would you say would be the biggest struggle that you deal with?
I think for me, because I have two, um, the biggest struggle I think would go back to certain times of my life because there was different scenarios that I've had to deal with.
Hmm.
If you just mean a general day to day, now
Let's touch on
my
both.
own.
How about that? Let's do both. So one back and then one day to day. Let's just scrape the surface on both of them.
Well, okay, well we'll start back. So if I look back, because I went through hell, and a lot of people are going through it, and a lot of men, and this is why a big reason why the suicide rate in men is so high, is not just divorces, but the kids are taken away. They don't get to see the kids every
Yeah,
day anymore. And that's a huge one. Now they're
definitely.
fighting for custody and just visitation
Hmm.
because there's a lot of evil people out there making up stories and the good guys that just want to be there for their children. So, back in the beginnings of my children's young lives, it was I was barely hanging on mentally. I almost killed myself, literally.
Hmm.
After my son was born, my son's 13 years old. And the last time I tried to take my own life when my son was like 10 months old. And that was around the same time I was battling in courts. I had police files against my ex. I had restraining order against my ex. It was she wouldn't withhold my son just because she thought that other women were around because she was that nuts. And so just having to fight, I offer to see my son, going to court,
Hmm.
listening to the accusations and the bullshit, and the whole time I was literally like, I'll give you your child support. I just wanted to see my son on these days. What's the problem? and she wouldn't have it. And it
Yeah.
was so crippling because I didn't understand it, because I know a lot of people, single moms, who don't even care about the money. They just want the dad around. They're
Yeah.
like, I don't care about their money. I don't want child support. I don't give a shit how much money they make. I just want them to see their father and to be a part of their lives. And then you got the other ones, like what I had to deal with is, fuck you. I don't care if you're a good dad and just want to see your son. I'm fucking mad at you and jealous X. So I'm withholding your son just because I know it gets to you.
Yeah.
And I offered and still pay child support. I'm like,
That's
what the fuck is your problem? Why are you doing this? I'm not trying to
yeah.
fight. I'm trying to just see my kid.
Yeah.
And so that is what the biggest struggle was with me back then.
Yeah.
And even at back then, and it's still, as years pass, as you know, and a lot of people listening, is my son's mom is now homeless on the street in the drugs.
Well,
And
before we go with that though, how did that mentally affect you?
well, like I said, I was among a couple little things to add to that at that time.
Yeah.
I almost took my own life. I tried,
Yeah. I know, but I mean,
and
like
the
in your
day,
head, like what was like the thought process of going through your head? Like, what were you thinking about? What was like, just kept on replaying over your head that just kind of really got to you? Was there like one certain thing, or was it just a numerous of like a whole bunch of shit that just fucking piled on, and it just overfilled?
the thing that I remember back then that I played constantly, and I cried constantly, was the same thing. I was like, I don't understand. I just want to be there
Yeah.
for my son. That's
Yeah.
it. I just want to see my boy. I just want to see my boy. And
See,
she's not letting me, and there was nothing they could do about it unless I went
yeah.
through the courts, because I had
The
to get to
courts.
that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
So in my mind, then the whole thought process was, I was just sad.
Yeah.
And because I understand when you go through a breakup, when you have a child, that you're not going to see them every day anymore,
Yeah.
you know, and that's normal. That's what happens in relationships sometimes, and that's something that you can deal with and figure out. But
Yeah.
even on the times that you want to see them and you can't,
Yeah.
is what was the hardest part for me back then. Breaking down was like, I couldn't understand someone who's, I just couldn't
Yeah.
even see my son. And then it would be my time that was agreed, and then I go to pick him up, and now she's busy. Now she's not there. Now I don't get him now that weekend because she changed plans, and there was nothing we could do about it at the time.
Yeah. Because
So
it wasn't in
the
the courts.
yeah, yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was the thought process of like,
Yeah.
it it took me to my knees, man. It really did.
See, see, I can definitely relate to that shit. And you know a little bit of my story too, right? Is where my kid's mom, we didn't have anything in court yet, and she ran away with my daughter for 3 months, like disappeared, and that's what killed me is the unknown. Like we were talking about the other podcast, it's the certainty, right? Where us as humans, we're always looking for certainty. What's the weather like? Who's going to win the Super Bowl? Like we said, like all these little things, right? It's all, as humans, we always want to know what's happening in the certainty. So not knowing where my daughter was for like 3 months, man, it fucking drove me insane. I was calling everything. The cops couldn't really do anything because, like you said, it's not in the courts. So at that time, I need to serve the person papers, and it fucking deteriorated me. It really was. I was depressed. I didn't leave my room for like fucking 2 weeks. I ended up taking fucking 3 pill bottles and fucking was in a coma for 2 days, man, because of that situation. And it could have been all just not even happen if she didn't take the kid away. But to be
Well,
honest with you, man, it it was as fucked up as this sounds. Me trying to take my life and waking up in the hospital was probably one of the best things that happened to me because I fucking fought hard. I went to Powell River and did a reset. I resetted my life, came back, fought for my daughter, and now I have her in my life. As fucked up as that sounds, it helped me. You know, it really did. But I don't wish that upon anybody. You know, and if you're listening out there and you're thinking about keeping your kids away from your partner, don't do that shit. Because not only is it affecting your partner, at the end of the day, let's be serious, it's the kids that matter, and that's going to affect them. You know, kids should be raised with mom and dad. I understand, there's some situations where one person's just not good, but at least if you have that one parent to help, then step up and be that parent. It's just hard, man. It really is. It's 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 fucked up. Fucked up. But you know what? You know what the for me what now that like I struggle with is I ask myself, am I a good dad? Am I doing the proper things? And that's what I battle with on a daily in my head. I know I'm doing good things, but you're your biggest critic. Us as human beings, we're our biggest critic. Am I doing? Is this proper? Is this okay? And it's the worriness that just keeps on coming. Like, is she gonna grow up to be a good girl? And not some fucking menace. It's just those are the biggest thoughts and the biggest mental battles that I deal with right now. Because it's hard when you got two different people raising one child, but not in the same household. you know the other house values are different from what you have. So it's almost like every time I get my daughter, every Friday I have to retrain her, and then she's back on the schedule, and then Sunday goes to her mom's, and it's fucked again. And that's probably, I would have to say, my biggest hurdle, because there's different rules at different houses. Do you feel that a little bit, like when you get your kids? Is it somewhat like that? I mean, I know your situation is a little bit, I mean, it's easier, I would say, in the sense of, like, it's good co-parenting with the kids' grandparents and stuff like that, right? Way easier, right? You have communication. When in my case, there's no fucking communication. So do you kind of feel like that?
Yeah, actually, I do a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, I know for the people listening, like I mentioned, I have two kids, but it's with two moms. And my daughter is 7 and my son is 13. And my
Yeah.
son, who's 13, just give a brief rundown so they have an understanding, is me and my son's mom were never together his entire life. We dated before he was born. And now, in the last 4 years, she decided to choose the street life with her boyfriend and is no longer around and living in a tent.
Hmm.
So I deal with her parents, who is a really big help for my son. And then I
Hmm.
have my daughter, who mom, who went from dating the biggest losers on the planet to my daughter at 5, 4, 3 years old, being around police and idiots going in and out of jail and high speed chases and you name it. So
Hmm.
for the last few years, up until about a year and a half ago, it's been police, ministry, police, ministry, police, ministry, police, ministry
Yeah. I
for two
know about that.
kids, for two kids, and I had to deal with that for quite a few years,
Hmm.
and it was the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with. But now, as I just broke it down, we'll fast forward back to what you asked. Uh, the grandparents definitely have, a little bit different rules. it's the
Mm-hmm.
same as they've been a big help and they've stepped in, and I got nothing but love for them.
Mm-hmm.
But just like you with or people listening is the other parent, it's like you said, you're retraining them, or you if you're civil enough with your ex to be able to try to work the same schedule for the most part out, so
Yeah.
it doesn't affect your children. And sometimes a lot of times is you don't get that is because the two parents cannot even speak. It has to
Yeah.
be through an email or through a lawyer. Well,
Or there's
mom
that
does
app
this.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, or mom always lets me do this and dad always lets me do that, and it really makes it hard for the children as they get older because of structure, discipline. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
are they allowed? Are they getting away with everything because the parents just allowing it, being a pushover, or you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
very difficult with co-parenting, especially like you said, is coming to dad's house and you're trying to do the best that you can,
Yeah.
and then she goes back to mom's, and then it's a whole new week starting all over again, and then
Yeah.
next weekend you got to deal with it again.
Yeah. It's an ongoing thing, man, for me. Ongoing. I mean, I just my kid's mom fucking didn't pay her rent. I've been giving her money, but she didn't pay her rent, and then I had to move her into my house. And I'm trying to show my daughter that even though two people are not together, that I'm trying to set a standard really for my daughter, for men. So when she's older, like that's how I want to be treated. That's how my dad treated my mom. That's the type of man that I want in my life. And it's fucking hard to do that when the other parent. I mean, I told her no drinking in my house because she's got a drinking problem. Next day, she's fucking hammered, and she's trying to take my daughter out of the house to drive. You know, it's ridiculous. So it's dealing with someone that has some sort of substance abuse too. Well, you all know all about it. Adds an extra step on that shit because then you're scared if the child's in danger. Are they safe all the time? So, and I bet you that runs through your head all the time. Am I not right? Right? Yeah.
100%.
And that's a whole
But
new stress on its own.
well, you got to be careful too, because I know you brought your ex in to help her
Yeah.
because she has your daughter when you don't, and
Yeah.
you got a big heart, and I understand,
Yeah.
and I think this kind of goes back a little bit to what we were talking about in the beginning, is making choices for our children based with our heart being in the right place,
Mhm.
right? But you also, because she struggles with addiction problems and a bunch of other shit that we don't need to get into. But you also got to be careful, is because that's going to roll off onto you on your day to day inside your home, in
Mhm.
terms of not you doing what she's doing, but that energy, the negativity, the stress,
Yeah.
right? Even though you're doing what you think is best for your child, is just be careful. Is because when you have someone who is toxic and plays victim her whole
Yeah.
life and doesn't make changes, and poor me, poor me, poor me,
Mhm.
and that's around you constantly, that's really going to pull you down mentally as well, right? So just be careful, because that's the energy that's going to be coming off to your daughter,
Well, and
right?
that's like we talked about though, is I set my boundaries and I set them fucking stern. You know what I mean? I told her if she has one drink, I don't care if it's a fucking drop out of a bottle, she's out. She did. She had one drink and she was out, and I stopped that right there. And that's what we speak about. It's all about having boundaries, and you got to stand those grounds and you got to stand those boundaries. But I mean, it is what it is at this point. But
Yeah, just be careful, man. That's all. But I understand,
yeah,
and like I said, it's we're making choices as parents because we want our children to see the best. We want our
Yeah.
children to feel the best and learn the best and all the anything and anything positive that we can do. Like you said, there's no playbook, right? And a
Yeah.
lot of us are parenting based off of how we were raised as children,
100%.
right? And
Yeah.
we pick up a lot of that of how our parents treated us, or if our parents were even around, or
Yeah.
and some people do to their children what their parents did to them, and some people refuse to be like their parents or
Generational, man.
refuse to 100% it is, right?
Yeah.
Like for example, people that were abused as a child like myself, I refuse to pass that over. And well, I was abused as a child, so I'm going to abuse my children. There's no fucking way in hell,
100%.
right?
Breaking that
Or then you
chain
have,
is what it's called.
right? And
Yeah.
my mom growing up was an alcoholic, and my stepdad, but I choose not to. I have a drink here and there, but it's not important, you know that. But
Yeah.
I didn't choose to be, a heavy drinker as well, like that, or
Yeah.
become an alcoholic. So
Yeah.
it's, but we do take a lot of, what we were raised as and carry it over the generational trauma even. And a lot of parents don't even realize that too, is you can pass down your trauma to your children,
I was
and
just
they
gonna
will
say
have,
that.
and if
Yeah.
you don't deal with some of your shit, your children will.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is a real thing. Generational trauma is real. So if you do not fix your core issues in your life, you will pass that on to your children to deal with.
Yeah.
And just like living in the house in that miserable household or with that person, and you don't want to leave just because of the children, well, you're passing that down to them
Yeah.
because your heart is there for the right reasons.
Yeah.
But it is not the way to go, because you are passing on that trauma that
Whoa, where did he go? There. Whoa, what happened there? He just disappeared.
yeah, I
That
don't
was
know,
weird.
it was weird. But yeah, you
Anyways,
have to
yeah.
people to realize is you need to fix that.
Yep.
Fix you. Put you first
Yep.
before anybody else. You have to be selfish. Fix the core problems so that you can be the best version of yourself for your children, for your spouse, for your family, for the people you work with.
Yep.
And it's not
Definitely.
easy. And that's why we're doing what we're doing, because it's not easy, because we were there. And
Yep.
I didn't know how to reach out for 20 years. Took me 20 years to finally reach out and get to a point in my life where I was so broken that I couldn't even get out of my room for 5 days,
Yeah.
till I realized I'm like, I do not want to feel like this ever again. I don't, I need help.
Well, I think it's fair to say, man, that we're both products of shit childhood. I mean, my dad used to come home. I'd be like 4 or 5 years old, and he'd come home and slap me around, all drunk, and I'm gonna make you tough, man up. I'm fucking 4 or 5 years old, man. This guy's fucking slapping me around. He's a grown man. His dad. Let's face it, man. Back in the old days, like I'm Scottish. Back in the days, they were just mean old people. It's the old school way. My dad used to get beat from his grandpa. His grandpa used to get beat from my great grandpa. But here we are. We're breaking that fucking cycle. There's no way I'm gonna beat my daughter or do the things that my dad did to me. It's all about breaking that chain. And I think me and you are fucking killing that at it. So props to us. I have to say, a little own hype there. But I mean, it's true. You can inherit that shit from your parents. It's like monkey see, monkey do too, man. Like your kids are gonna pick up on that shit, and then they're gonna end up doing it later down the line, or it's just gonna traumatize them. These are our kids. We made these little human beings, just like our parents made us. You know, I don't get the mindset of some of these fucking parents, man. And if you're listening, you know who the fuck you are. Like, this is your kid, man. You made this person. How can you just fucking hurt them or throw them away or treat them like that? It's your fucking blood.
or or deny them of their fathers.
Yeah.
And that's
Mothers
where,
too, man.
us,
Mothers too.
well, it goes
Both ways.
both ways, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Or see, and but if you withhold your child from the other person, both ways,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you are mad, because you're hurt, because
Yeah.
maybe
Makes me
they
sick.
were maybe they were a shitty wife or a shitty husband and they cheated. Yeah, you're a piece of shit for doing that. But that had nothing to do with the children.
Yeah.
And if you're withholding your children based on actions that they made or choices they made in a relationship setting, what does that have to do with your children?
Yeah.
So if you're hurt and heartbroken or pissed off or angry that they did this, so no, I'm not giving you our son or our daughter,
Well,
and you just hold on to them and play with them as a pawn,
yeah.
you're the fucking deadbeat. You're the
Yeah,
deadbeat.
definitely. Definitely.
Even some guys that, I know some guys who really struggling financially and can't pay the child support because they're just trying to get back on their feet. But now they're withholding their son and daughters because, well, you haven't paid me in 3 months, so you don't get to see them. Legally, you're actually not allowed to do that.
100%.
You, but they do it all the time because there's no immediate action.
Yeah.
Because you can't just say, "Hey, my ex won't give me my son this weekend,"
Yeah.
and then the only way that's even would happen is if you had a court order where the police would have to come, which I had at one point 12 years ago,
Mhm.
where the judge says this: if you refuse to give him your son, the police will go and pick him up for him.
Mhm.
Right? That's the extreme, but it is that small case. But anybody that withholds their children like that based on a financial and
Mhm.
or because they're mad about something in their fucking breakup, well, you're the fucking deadbeat. I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
it
I
has
totally
nothing
agree.
to do with the children. Because I know a lot of people who have been shitty fucking husbands and wives, but amazing parents. They
Yeah.
just suck at relationships, right? They're terrible.
Mm. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
parenting, amazing. So, regardless of whatever you guys got going on with your ex, fucking let it go. If you're listening right now, drop it. Leave it. Who cares? Let
Yeah.
them think they won. Let them fucking call you an idiot, one, whatever. Hang up the phone, ignore it, let it go because you are
Yeah.
fucking those kids up.
100%, man.
It has nothing to do with them. They want to see if someone says, and as long as they're not a full out addict or there's some real danger possibly involved with this person, and they
Yeah.
just want to see their children, fucking let them.
Yeah.
Let them
Yeah.
figure it out. You're mad? Who cares? Get over it. Get a third party to drop them off. Fucking figure it out. Do not deny your children the rights to their fathers and mothers.
Yeah, man. What
Drop
makes
it.
me even more sick, bro, is the parents that then talk shit to their kids about the other parent, which is sickening, you know? Fucking sickening. Even though me and my kid's mom, I mean, we get along most of the part, don't get me wrong, but she's got a lot more bad days than good days, let's say that, right? And I'm not here bashing her. I wish her the best. I hope that, she smartens up and gets her shit together for my daughter's sake, right? At the end of the day, she's my kid's mom, right? So I wish her all the best. But I mean, I would never just go to my kid and fucking badmouth her. I want my kid to know that her mom, even though she's done bad things, that's her mom, man. And that at the end of the day, that's her superhero. And as sick it is, I mean, and she was a good person. For all everybody that knows, my daughter's face got mauled by a dog and had 400 stitches in her face when she was 2 years old. And when that happened, her mom blamed herself and kind of just went downhill. And it sucks because she was great. She was great until that happened. And I can understand it because she thinks that she put herself in that situation. So now she's blaming herself for that. And I get it. I understand it. But at some point, you got to be like, okay, fuck that shit. You know, no more victim mentality. I got to make what's right here and move forward. But I would never go and fucking bash. And there's a lot out there that do that.
Yeah, that's definitely a no-no because I could hate my exes for what they've done. And,
Mm-hmm.
especially like for my daughter's mom, the amount of
Mm-hmm.
stuff I've had to deal with is I I can't get into it. It's just that bad and that much.
Yeah.
But regardless, my daughter fucking loves her mother. Loves her
Yeah.
mother.
Yeah.
And even to this day, like we're getting, it took a long time to get here, but now we get along just fine. But it took years of it was bad. Let's just say
Yeah.
that. It was really bad. And now, my daughter loves her mother. And regardless of what her mother has done, not only to me, but to her and unintentionally, but, like her environments and this and that, I would never cut her mother down in front of her. I would
Mm.
never yell at her mother in front of her because that has nothing to do with them. And like
Yeah.
you said, superhero
Exactly.
loves her
Yeah.
mother.
Yeah.
When I have my kids every week, and when she wants to call her mom, here's my phone. Call your mom.
Exactly. Yeah.
You want to tell
Exactly.
her that I bought her new shoes. For example, I bought her new shoes yesterday. Took her to the mall. Can I call my mom and tell? Yeah, of course. And it's all those
Yeah.
little things. So when you have children and you're co-parenting, whatever it is that you're going through, fucking drop it.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Come to a civil, at least civil. You guys don't even have to be friends.
Yeah.
Like me and my ex now are super civil, but we don't chat like we're buddies. I don't call and say,
Yeah.
"Hey, how was your day?" You don't have to, but
Yeah.
you
No.
know what I mean? We'll
Just make it
chat
about
when
the
it's
kid.
you make it about the child. And do you know how? And I held on to anxiety and anger for so long. And
Yeah.
once I decided, you know what? It's not worth it because I'm just causing emotional punishment to myself because of her bad behavior, not mine.
Mm-hmm.
So why
Mm-hmm.
why am I holding on to this?
Yeah.
And I just decided one day I'm going to let it go. And instead of hating, I just said, you know what? I'm stuck with her for the rest of my life, whether I like it or not.
Yeah.
So why am I going to hold this and feel like this every day and fuck my days up and ruin my days? And then that spills out onto the children, like we talked about. Or I just say, you know what? Fine. And in my head, whatever. She can think she wins. She can think she's right. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And my life, dude, I tell you, if you guys are listening and you guys do this, changed my entire life because now, from going from court battles and fucking police and ministry, all this shit, to my life has never been this quiet and humble and peaceful in my entire life because I
Yeah,
just
man.
chose to just be like, you know what?
Fuck it.
I'm stuck with them. So
Yeah.
why not just try to work with them? I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, how do we do this? What's easiest on my daughter? Okay, and now, like a lot of people, like you better fucking be here by 6 on the dot, or you better pick them up on Sunday. Like, dude, I got none of that shit
Oh yeah. Yeah.
because I chose to let it go because it used to be
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
and
Oh, if you're
now I
late,
can
you
still,
can't come, right? One
yeah,
of those. Like
too
if you're
bad,
late, that's it. You
yeah,
don't see the kid. It's fucked.
or fucking 30 phone calls because you said you'd be here at 4 and it's 4:20 and you're 10 minutes
Yeah.
away, and you're fucking
Yeah.
screaming at them. Why?
Yeah.
Let it go, drop it.
Yep.
And because of that, now I can switch days and I'll even do the same. Sure, I'll take her an extra day. You want to go away? I don't care. And it's
Yeah.
just when you change as much hate as you could have for this person for what they've done, when they always say forgiveness is not for them, it's for you.
It's true.
100%. It is. It
So
is for
true.
you.
Yeah.
You're doing it for you. Let them freak out. Let them fucking do whatever they do in their life because you're not together anymore for one,
Yeah.
right? So who cares?
Yeah.
They're gonna do what they're
Yeah.
gonna do, and that's another thing. Is I held on is because all these mistakes that she was making before, I was trying to make up for that on my end
Mm-hmm.
and overworking myself and going back to what you asked earlier tonight is the struggles that I have now is I think because of that my struggles now is it ever going to be good enough for my kids because I
Mm-hmm.
push myself and overwork myself because of all that shit in the past and I feel like I'm still doing it and even now that my life is better than it's ever been I still look in the mirror sometimes feeling like I'm doing nothing
Yeah.
because it's just because it's like I slow down for a couple of days and like oh well is my kids am I doing the right thing for my kids are they going to be proud of me I got to keep going I got to keep going because of the past traumas right.
Well, let me ask you this: did you ever hold grudges? Like, did you hold grudges for a while before you like claim to this clarity? Like, let's face it: don't let people live rent free in your head. We say this many times, and it's true. But before that, did you ever like hold a grudge?
Yeah, and that was a part of the forgiving and it's
Yeah,
not for them, it's for you.
$100%.
It's pretty much the same thing. Is
Yeah.
you just hold this and me in my entire life as a person, I found it hard to hold grudges with people. And I tried because there's a lot of shit that's happened to me where I should hate them for the rest of your life. Most people would. But I was not able to really hold a grudge for that long. I think I can only
Hmm.
think of like two people in my life that I probably still could, but um, I held on to that one. We can't really for some of the things that happened. I really held on to that, but it wasn't even a grudge of anger. Like a lot, and that's what normally a grudge is because you're so angry, you're holding on to that and you're holding on to that. But mine was a grudge of sadness
And disappointment?
and disappointment.
I've been there. I felt that. I know that.
When you see somebody, especially, for example, she was an amazing mother at one point and then
Yeah.
started dating the wrong people and then completely fell off for a long time where her own family didn't even want to talk to her. That it
Yeah.
got that bad.
Yeah.
And she started doing all these nasty things to me and everything else, blah, blah, blah. Is I couldn't even hold a resentment of anger. I'm like, because I knew what kind of person she was and what she did to herself.
Yeah.
So it was, and what it's doing to my daughter, because it goes back again, is when we talk about fixing you first, and your kids feel that. Well, her mom buried herself literally with the just toxic shit,
Hmm.
which then so I held a grudge of sadness and anxiety rather than anger because I seen you and look what you're doing, look what's happening around our daughter, look what happened to you, why did you make these choices? And then I really held on to that in that sense in a different way even
Did
though
you
we
feel
weren't
that though?
together.
Did you feel that though that a little bit animosity or whatever to her because it was affecting your daughter as well though in that sense
So
too?
there was a lot of animosity
Yeah.
of the hate. It was weird. It wasn't an
Yeah.
anger, it was a sadness and a hate. Like, how the fuck can you do this to our daughter? How the fuck
Yeah.
can you be throwing your life away like that? Like, you're such a smart girl. What the fuck are you thinking? Right?
Yeah.
Because,
Stupidity, really.
well, yeah, and even though we're not together, I still care because that's my child's mom. If I'm not there, I need the person that's with my children and the mother on my side, obviously, to be the best version that they can, or at least try to be.
Definitely. Definitely.
And that's what we all hope for, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then you're dating fucking losers and doing drugs and fucking all this shit.
Tell me about it.
It makes it so hard to get through your own day to day, knowing that I didn't have control over half of that. And
Yeah.
it's not that I wanted to control, as I shouldn't have to, but dealing with that, like I said, police ministry,
Yeah.
police. And I had to deal with that back to back for fucking 2 years, 3 years.
And then you're banging your head off the fucking wall. Like, when is this going to change? When is that person going to smarten up? You know, like, when is enough? When is rock bottom? Like, you know, like, that's what I go through all the time. You know, it's like, when is this person, like, how many times you got to hit the fucking ground in order to, like, finally wake up? But you know what I would have to say though, definitely, actually, like, coming back to, like, hard things that dealing with as a single father, I think my number one thing is coming home and my kid not being there. Like, when I used to come home from work, every time my kid would run across the house, like, she knew what time I was coming home. It was like she was waiting. And as soon as I opened the door, she would run up and give me a big hug and kiss. That would probably be one of the toughest things for me, actually. And when I would drive my daughter to her mom's house on Sundays, and she would be crying, man, crying, not wanting to go to her mom's. She wants to hang out with me. And she'd be just when she sat in the back in the car seat, and I would hold her hand, and I'd be crying because I have to hand over my daughter, and I'm not going to see her until next Friday. And that would kill me, man. Kill me, you know? This precious little child crying, you know, tears bawling, not wanting to go because they want to see you. You know, like, her mom had she would be, I would be hugging her, like, holding her, and her mom would have to peel her off of me to bring her back inside the house because she wouldn't want to leave. I would probably have to say that's one of my toughest things, you know? And that's like what you just said is like, you know, letting them go and not having any control over that person's household and praying and hoping to God that everything is safe there. That to me is probably one of the hardest things.
And knowing that you have no say on who they date, and it's not a control thing because you're jealous. It's you just want the best people possible around your
100%.
children, but you cannot or you don't have a fucking say at all
No.
on
No.
who comes around your children on that side when they leave your
On
house.
Well, and on that note too, you can't. So, like, other people out there, you can't. You it's you're not allowed. That's their life. And what happens with their life, you can't control that, you know? You can't. Or you can't bring my daughter around this person. I mean, at the end of the day, you can't control that because you're not there. And let's face it, it's none of your fucking business unless something dangerous or your daughter's in, or son is in danger. Then it becomes an issue, which is fucked. Which is fucked. Like, when I had to deal with the comps, with the ministry and the comps, and they said she's not breaking the law right now, so there's nothing they can do. So you have to wait till my daughter either gets hurt or is dead in order for you guys to do something. It's but it's fucked, man, you know? I don't know.
Well, and that's
It's
like you
just
said is that's another thing is people are withholding their children, especially from their dads, is because they're trying to control who they
the
think
situation.
is going to be around in the situation
Yeah,
when they're not there.
exactly.
And you can't do that
No,
ever
no.
because there's nothing you can do. Just, I don't, you're just seeing some new girl, so I don't know her. She's not going to be around my kid. Well, it's not up to you, to be
Yeah,
honest. It is your
yeah,
kid, but you guys aren't together anymore. So if that other person decides they're going to bring the child around them, whether you like them or not, they're going to do it.
yeah,
But withholding your child from seeing the dad or the mom, maybe, because of that, that makes you a fucking deadbeat.
yeah.
You can't control. You have, and that's another thing. You need to let it go
Unless they're in danger,
because
don't get me wrong.
less there's obviously there's different scenarios, but I mean, if
Yeah,
there's reason to believe that there's some, but even still, even if you believe that there is, you still can't do anything about it.
I know.
until
Unless they're
something
hurt.
happens, or you have it
Like I
on
just
video or whatever, or they get hurt. But even
yeah,
still, you can't. So people need to also learn to let go of that control because
yeah,
you can't control what they're going to do, because I had to deal with it for years with my kids, mom, man, and it fucking killed me.
yeah,
But at the same time, at the end of the day, there was nothing I could do about it. If she's going to date that person, whether you hate him or not, or like him or not, then that's it. All you can do now is go down the road of going to court. But
yeah,
for it's so people need to just let things go and stop trying to control every time, because you're not with that person anymore, and you
yeah,
probably are the one that left them. So
yeah,
now you got to deal with co-parenting and trying to figure it out.
yeah,
But people
yeah,
use these children as pawns in their emotional games to get
yeah,
that out of them and push their buttons, and knowing that that's what'll hurt him. So I'm just not going to let him
yeah,
see his son this weekend.
yeah.
Well, fuck you,
It's true.
because that makes you a piece of shit. And all you're
Mm-hmm.
doing is not thinking about those children, and you're not, and you realize, or you should realize, the damage you're causing those children, because as you keep doing this to these children, they're going to think that daddy's not coming around because he doesn't love us. And
Yeah.
guess what that creates? Abandonment issues.
Fucking rights.
And you know what
Yeah.
else? Like childhood traumas when they're older, when daddy was just trying to be there, but mom wouldn't let him see him
Mm-hmm.
because daddy didn't pay for 2 months, or I don't like
Yep.
daddy's new girlfriend, or in your case, just up and decide to move because you felt like fucking moving, and you didn't get to see your children for 3 months, your
Yeah.
daughter for three
Oh,
months.
it wasn't even about moving. She just disappeared because she she was fucked. She just wanted to hurt me. You know,
Well, that's what I'm
that's
saying.
what it was.
Is
Yeah, she just wanted
is
to hurt me. It wasn't even about like anything with the kid. She just wanted to up and move and disappeared. I couldn't get a hold of her. It was fucking scary, man. It was fucking scary, dude. And that's what made me fucking take those pills, man. When this couldn't have, it didn't need to happen. It didn't need to fucking happen.